Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar, and with me is Neena Arakal with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit at Gandhinagar in Gujarat, says Heal in India can become a big brand of the decade. Prime Minister to attend the Adi Jati Mahasammelan in Dahod and inaugurate various development projects worth 22,000 crore rupees this afternoon. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says reforms undertaken by India before and after pandemic to ensure it remains one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Attends G20 Emerging Market Economies meeting along with RBI Governor Shaktikant Das in Washington DC. Supreme Court orders a status quo on the demolition drive in North Delhi's Jahangir Puri. Defence Ministry utilizes 65.5% of capital acquisition budget on domestic procurement in last financial year. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh inaugurates two-day event to mark the Civil Services Day in New Delhi today. Prime Minister to confer awards for excellence in public administration 2021 tomorrow. Two-day grand event to mark the 400th Prakash Guru Purab of Guru Tegh Bahadur to begin at Red Fort today. Prime Minister to address the nation tomorrow. World economy to grow at a slower pace due to Russia-Ukraine conflict, says International Monetary Fund. In Sri Lanka, one person killed and dozens injured in police firing as demonstrators voice anger against rising prices and shortage of essentials. In Santosh Trophy Football Championships, Punjab takes on Rajasthan at the Kottapadi Stadium at 4 p.m, while Meghalaya to face hosts Kerala at the Pioneer Stadium at 8 p.m. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals to take on Punjab Kings at Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that Heal in India can become a big brand of this decade, and wellness centers based on Ayurveda Unani Siddh can be very popular. Mr. Modi also announced to create a new category for Indian visa, Ayush visa, so that foreigners can avail the benefit of Indian expertise in Ayush sector. He was addressing after inaugurating the Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit at Mahatma Mandir in Gandhinagar, Gujarat today. The Prime Minister of Mauritius, Pravind Kumar Jagannath, and Director General of World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, were also present on this occasion. Prime Minister Modi also digitally launched Ayush Export Promotion Council on this occasion. Mr. Modi also launched IT initiatives like Ayush Information Hub, Ayush Next, Ayush Soft, etc. The Prime Minister in his address said no one could have imagined that we would be able to develop corona vaccine so quickly after the pandemic hit the world. It happened because modern pharma companies and vaccine manufacturers got investment at the right time. This indicates that innovation and investment can increase the strength of any sector, he stressed. Mr. Modi said that the Ayush sector will attract maximum investment in future, and it begins from today. He said that the possibilities of investment and innovation in the field of Ayush are limitless.
2014 से पहले जहां आयुष सेक्टर में $3 बिलियन से भी कम का काम था, आज ये बढ़कर $18 बिलियन को भी पार कर गया है। जिस प्रकार पूरी दुनिया में आयुष प्रोडक्ट्स की मांग बढ़ रही है, उससे ये ग्रोथ आने वाले वर्षों में और ज्यादा बढ़ेगी। नेशनल सप्लीमेंट्स हो, मेडिसिन्स का सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट हो, आयुष आधारित डायग्नोस्टिक टूल्स हो या फिर टेलीमेडिसिन, हर तरफ इन्वेस्टमेंट और इनोवेशन की नई संभावनाएं हैं।
Mr. Modi said that traditional medicine has helped Kerala in increasing tourism. This power is there in the whole of India, in every corner of India. Mr. Modi said that FSSAI has also announced a new category named Ayush Ahar in its regulations last week. This will greatly facilitate the producers of herbal nutritional supplements.
हर्ब्स और मेडिसिनल प्लांट का उत्पादन किसानों की आय और आजीविका बढ़ाने का अच्छा साधन हो सकता है। सरकार आयुष ई मार्केट प्लेस के आधुनिकीकरण और उसके विस्तार पर भी बहुत तेजी से काम कर रही है। इस पोर्टल के जरिए हर्ब्स और मेडिसिनल प्लांट की पैदावार से जुड़े किसानों को उन कंपनियों से जोड़ा जाएगा जो आयुष प्रोडक्ट्स बनाती हैं। आयुष प्रोडक्ट्स के निर्यात को प्रमोट करने के लिए भी दूसरे देशों के साथ आयुष औषधियों की परस्पर मान्यता पर बल दिया गया है।
The Prime Minister said that this is the era of unicorns in India. In the year 2022 itself, so far, 14 startups from India have joined the Unicorn Club.
ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेद के द्वारा विकसित की गई एक इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर का उद्घाटन किया गया है। जो स्टार्टअप चैलेंज आयोजित किया गया है, उसमें भी जिस प्रकार का उत्साह युवाओं में देखने को मिला है, वो बहुत ही एनकरेजिंग है। एक प्रकार से भारत में आज यूनिकॉर्न्स का दौर है। साल 2022 में ही अब तक भारत के 14 स्टार्टअप्स यूनिकॉर्न क्लब में जुड़ चुके हैं। बहुत ही जल्द आयुष के हमारे स्टार्टअप से भी यूनिकॉर्न उभर कर सामने आएगा।
He said that the Ministry of Ayush has taken several major steps to encourage startup culture in the field of traditional medicines. A few days back, an incubation center developed by All India Institute of Ayurved was inaugurated. Earlier, addressing the inauguration ceremony, the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Pravind Kumar Jagannath, said that India is known as the pharmacy of the world.
The WHO World Centre for Traditional Medicine will undoubtedly promote India's standing in the field of traditional medicine and highlight India's long-standing and valued expertise in the field of traditional, complementary and integrative medicine. India's rich heritage of medical wisdom derived in the field of traditional medicine for ages deserves to be shared and given more light.
Speaking on this occasion, the Director General of WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, said that India will go to the whole world and the whole world will come to India through Ayush.
The Ayush sector is also growing significantly by 17% per year since 2014. In fact, Ayush industry is projected to reach $23 billion by the end of this year. It's easy to see why this fast-moving industry, which spans so many areas, dietary, well-being and pharmaceutical, is attracting an array of investment interests from entrepreneurs to tech companies and healthcare centers and large manufacturers. Through the Ayush sector, India will go to the whole world and the whole world will come to India.
Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, Union Minister for Ayush Sarbanand Sonowal, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia also took part in the function. Prime Minister Modi will also attend the Adi Jati Mahasammelan in Dahod at around 3:30 p.m. He will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of various development projects worth 22,000 crore rupees. The Sammelan is expected to witness participation of over 2 lakh people.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has called on International Monetary Fund (IMF) to urgently provide financial assistance to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, which is in the throes of an unprecedented economic crisis, had announced that it would default on foreign debt repayments totaling $51 billion. The island nation is seeking a $4 billion bailout package for this year from the IMF. The Sri Lankan economic crisis was a key part of the conversation between Ms. Sitharaman and IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva in Washington, D.C. Ms. Georgieva assured the Finance Minister that the IMF would continue to actively engage with Sri Lanka. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said reforms undertaken by India before and after the pandemic will ensure it remains one of the fastest growing economies in the world in the decade ending 2030. She also said India's economic recovery from the impact of coronavirus pandemic has been distinct and pronounced. Ms. Sitharaman was speaking at an event organized by Atlantic Council in Washington, D.C. yesterday. She said that the government decided not to levy COVID tax on people to get out of the pandemic, as it was firm that country's revenue to rescue the economy was not going to come from taxing people. She said the government has made sure that free food grains, pulses and some quantity of cooking gas were distributed to 800 million Indians in 2020. She said the free food grain program continues even now. Nirmala Sitharaman and RBI Governor Shaktikant Das today attended the G20 Emerging Market Economies meeting. The meeting was organized by International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C. on the sidelines of the upcoming G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meeting. During the meeting, Nirmala Sitharaman shared her insights on the economic outlook, risks and near-term policy challenges like food, energy, security and tightening of global financial conditions for emerging market economies.
The International Monetary Fund in a report said that the world economy will grow at a slower pace due to Russia-Ukraine conflict. The IMF in its report forecasted growth of 3.6% this year compared to 6.1% last year. Originally, it had predicted 4.4% growth this year. The IMF also predicts the Russian economy will shrink by 8.5% this year and Ukraine's will fall by a whopping 35%. The United States, China and Europe were also expected to see slower growth as a result of the conflict. The International Financial Services Centres Authority has signed an MOU with the National Insurance Academy to provide skilled talent pool in the insurance sector. It aims to develop a strong global connect and focus on the needs of the Indian economy, as well as to serve as an international financial platform at regional and global level. Insurance is an emerging sector at international financial services centers, and the MOU will go a long way in capacity development in the field of insurance.
The Supreme Court today ordered a status quo on the demolition drive in the North Delhi's Jahangir Puri. The matter was mentioned before Chief Justice of India CJI N.V. Ramana by senior advocate Dushyant Dave. Dave in the petition said unconstitutional, unauthorized demolition is taking place in Jahangir Puri where riots took place. The CJI ordered that the status quo be maintained and scheduled a hearing for tomorrow. The North Delhi Municipal Corporation today conducted an anti-encroachment drive in Jahangir Puri area. Delhi police personnel have been deployed to maintain law and order situation during the drive in the area. NDMC Mayor Raja Iqbal Singh said the anti-encroachment drive will take place across the city. He said the NDMC had planned the drive earlier too and has asked for security for the drive, but due to some reasons it did not take place.
The Defence Ministry has utilized 65.5% of capital acquisition budget on domestic procurement in last financial year. The ministry had earmarked 64% of capital acquisition budget for domestic industry in the fiscal year 2021-22. The Defence Ministry has been able to overachieve this target on indigenous procurements to achieve Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India's non-basmati rice exports have witnessed an astounding growth of 109%. He said Narendra Modi government's policies are helping farmers in getting access to the global market and ensuring food security.
Ceasefire agreements with National Socialist Council of Nagaland (NK), National Socialist Council of Nagaland Reformation and National Socialist Council of Nagaland Kekhango has been extended for further period of 1 year. Union Home Ministry said ceasefire agreements are in operation between the government and these organizations. The government has decided to extend the ceasefire agreements for a further period of 1 year with effect from 28th of this month to 27th April 2023 with National Socialist Council of Nagaland NK, National Socialist Council of Nagaland Reformation. The ceasefire agreement with National Socialist Council of Nagaland Kekhango has been extended from 18th of this month to 17th April 2023. These agreements were signed on 19th April last year.
Over 186 crore 90 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Union Health Ministry said over 17,23,000 vaccine doses were administered yesterday. The ministry said over 2,000 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate is currently at 98.76%.
You're listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Says Heal in India can become a big brand of the decade. Prime Minister to attend the Adijati Maha Sammelan in Dahod and inaugurate various development projects worth 22,000 crore rupees this afternoon. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says reforms undertaken by India before and after pandemic to ensure it remains one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Attends G20 Emerging Market Economies meeting along with RBI Governor Shaktikant Das in Washington, D.C. Supreme Court orders a status quo on the demolition drive in the North Delhi's Jahangirpuri. Defence Ministry utilizes 65.5% of capital acquisition budget on domestic procurement in last financial year. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh inaugurates two-day event to mark the Civil Service Day in New Delhi today. Prime Minister to confer awards for Excellence in Public Administration 2021 tomorrow. Two-day grand event to mark the 400th Prakash Guru Purab of Guru Tegh Bahadur to begin at Red Fort today. Prime Minister to address nation tomorrow. World economy to grow at a slower pace due to Russia-Ukraine conflict, says International Monetary Fund. In Sri Lanka, one person killed and dozen injured in police firing as demonstrators voice anger against rising prices and shortage of essentials. In the Santosh Trophy Football Championships, Punjab takes on Rajasthan at the Kottapadi Stadium at 4 p.m. while Meghalaya to face host Kerala at the Payanad Stadium at 8 p.m. In IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals to take on Punjab Kings at Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai this evening. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। इस बार का विषय है इकोनॉमिक्स। सवाल भेजने की अंतिम तारीख है 20 अप्रैल। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Welcome back to the Midday News on All India Radio. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will confer awards for excellence in public administration 2021 on Civil Services Day tomorrow. Inaugurating the two-day event to mark the Civil Services Day in New Delhi today, Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh said earlier the PM Awards for Excellence in Public Administration was based on individual profile of the officer, but now it is based on the flagship program performance of the individual district. He said the Narendra Modi government is preparing a vision document for India 2047. Dr. Singh said during the last 8 years, the government has taken a number of revolutionary decisions.
We were the first to go inline nearly 6 years ago because we realized that we had to remain connected to Shillong where we had the NEC headquarters. Similarly, this is a government which would take pride in having said that we did away with many rules. 1,500 rules we have done away. Within weeks after taking over in 2014, we did away with that gazetted attestation. Similarly, aspirational district. It's a trendsetter, something unique which might not have been tried in government sector across the world.
A two-day grant event to mark the 400th Prakash Guru Purab of Guru Tegh Bahadur will kickstart at the Red Fort premises today. Home Minister Amit Shah will inaugurate the event. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the event tomorrow and will address the gathering. He will also release a commemorative coin and postage stamp on the occasion. The program is being organized as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
And now let's listen to a special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember the freedom fighter and maestro of Hindustani classical flute music, Pandit Pannalal Ghosh, who died on the 20th of April 1960. During his young days at Barisal, Pannalal was active in the freedom struggle, and in the formative phase of his career, he also came under the influence of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore and Qazi Nazrul Islam, who helped instill the nationalistic outlook in him. A disciple of Alauddin Khan, Pannalal is credited with popularizing the flute as a concert instrument in Hindustani classical music and also the pioneer of Indian classical flute.
Pannalal was born on the 24th of July 1911 at Barisal, now in Bangladesh, in a family of musicians. Young Pannalal was highly receptive and absorbed good music from various sources. In 1928, Ghosh became a part of the Indian independence movement. He joined a gymnasium and learned martial arts, boxing and stick fighting.
As he became more involved in the independence movement, the government started keeping a close watch. He had to flee to Kolkata. His childhood friend and brother-in-law, Anil Biswas, also came to Kolkata due to his political leanings.
In Kolkata, Pannalal honed his musical skills and assisted in music production. In 1940, he moved to Bombay to further expand his music career. He joined the Bombay Talkies Film Studio and gave music to quite a few popular films. Pannalal also earned fame through his regular broadcasts on All India Radio and his many live performances at music festivals throughout India. His efforts and research has helped the flute gain its current form.
The true patriot that he was, Pannalal Ghosh gave stirring compositions and flute playback for the nationalistic film Andolan in 1951. The movie has actual footage of India's freedom struggle. Speeches and talks of Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru and many others are included in the narrative of this film.
Pandit Pannalal Ghosh's legacy continues with his many disciples. We salute the great nationalist and music exponent.
We remember Indian National Army member Pirthi Singh, who was born on the 20th of April 1914 in Hoshiarpur, Punjab. A soldier in the British Army, he was captured by Japanese forces in 1942 in Singapore. Pirthi Singh volunteered to join the Indian National Army on the 1st of March 1942 and fought against the Allied forces in Burma. He was martyred on the battleground in Burma in 1944. We salute the great son of the soil, Pirthi Singh.
we pay our tributes to the martyr Mangra Bhagat, who took active part in the Quit India movement in Ranchi, Jharkhand. He was arrested during the protest and sent to Patna Camp Jail on the 15th of September 1942. He died during imprisonment on the 20th of April 1943. We salute the great son of the soil.
We also remember martyr Ahmad Yar Khan, who took part in the First War of Indian Independence in 1857. Khan was a Tehsildar of Jalalabad, Uttar Pradesh, and played a prominent role as a Nazim of Jalalabad under the independence activist government. He was captured by the British troops following the defeat of the independence activists and executed by hanging on the 20th of April 1858. We salute the great freedom fighter.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
The BJP has described Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav as a festival of national awakening, realizing the dreams of good governance, and a festival of global peace and development. Briefing media in New Delhi today, Senior Party Leader and Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur has said that more than 25,000 programs have been organized across the country under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव का अर्थ है स्वतंत्रता की ऊर्जा का अमृत, स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के योद्धाओं की प्रेरणा का अमृत, नए विचारों और प्रतिज्ञाओं का अमृत, आत्मनिर्भरता का अमृत। इसीलिए यह महोत्सव राष्ट्र जागरण का पर्व है, सुशासन के सपनों को साकार करने का त्योहार और वैश्विक शांति और विकास का त्योहार।
The Sri Lankan police fired at protesters yesterday, killing one person and injuring a dozen more, as demonstrators have been raging across the island nation for weeks. Voicing anger against the rising prices and shortages of essentials and prolonged power cuts, the country has sought rapid financial assistance from the International Monetary Fund to ease the worsening economic crisis.
In the Santosh Trophy Football Championships, Odisha edged out Manipur by a solitary goal at the Payanad Stadium in Manjeri last night. In today's encounter, Punjab will take on Rajasthan at the Kottapadi Stadium at 4 p.m. while Meghalaya will challenge host Kerala at the Payanad Stadium at 8 p.m. In IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals will take on Punjab Kings at Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai this evening at 7:30 p.m.
Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. The national capital Delhi is experiencing a heat wave. Minimum temperature was recorded at 27 degrees while the maximum is expected to be around 41 degrees Celsius. Mumbai is likely to have generally cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was 27 degrees Celsius. Maximum is expected to be around 33 degrees. Chennai is likely to have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was 28 degrees and maximum temperature is expected to be 37 degrees. Kolkata is likely to have partly cloudy sky with possibility of development of thunder lightning. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Says Heal in India can become a big brand of the decade. Prime Minister to attend the Adi Jati Mahasammelan in Dahod and inaugurate various development projects worth 22,000 crore rupees this afternoon. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says reforms undertaken by India before and after pandemic to ensure it remains one of the fastest growing economies in the world attends G20 Emerging Market Economies meeting along with RBI Governor Shaktikant Das in Washington DC. Supreme Court orders a status quo on the demolition drive in North Delhi's Jahangir Puri. Defence Ministry utilizes 65.5% of capital acquisition budget on domestic procurement in last financial year. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh inaugurates two-day event to mark the Civil Services Day in New Delhi today. Prime Minister to confer awards for excellence in public administration 2021 tomorrow. Two-day grand event to mark the 400th Prakash Guru Purab of Guru Tegh Bahadur to begin at Red Fort today. Prime Minister to address the nation tomorrow. World economy to grow at a slower pace due to Russia-Ukraine conflict, says IMF. In Sri Lanka, one person killed and dozen injured in police firing as demonstrators voice anger against rising prices and shortage of essentials. In Santosh Trophy Football Championships, Punjab takes on Rajasthan at Kottapadi Stadium at 4 p.m, while Meghalaya to face hosts Kerala at Payanar Stadium at 8 p.m. And with that, we end the midday news.